Rain had been falling since dusk, soft at first, then steadily harder, until it was just one long sighing whisper against the windows of the terminal. Daniel sat alone on the cracked bench beneath a flickering fluorescent light, his duffel bag at his feet. It was almost midnight, and he was waiting for the last bus out of town, Route 117, heading north. He shouldn't have come. The thought echoed in his mind like the hum of the vending machine across the room. He shouldn't have gone to the funeral. He shouldn't have stayed this late. He shouldn't be here, waiting for a bus that by all logic should have stopped running hours ago. When the old vehicle finally arrived, it emerged from the rain like something dredged up from a dream. Headlights diffused to dull halos, engine wheezing as it pulled into the terminal. The driver, a heavy-set man with a red cap, didn't look up as the doors hissed open. Daniel climbed aboard. The smell of damp vinyl and diesel wrapping around him. Only a few passengers sat scattered through the dim cabin. An old woman clutching a paper bag, a teenager slumped against the window with headphones, a man in a suit staring blankly at the aisle. The air was heavy with silence, broken only by the rhythmic squeal of the windshield wipers and the occasional cough from the driver. Daniel took a seat near the middle, setting his duffel beside him. He exhaled, watching the fog of his breath dissipate. The interior lights flickered as the bus groaned back into motion, pulling away from the terminal and into the long stretch of highway that cut through miles of forest and farmland. He tried to relax, tried to stop thinking about the funeral, about Mark, his college friend, found dead in his apartment 2 days earlier. A heart attack, the doctor had said. But the body, it hadn't looked peaceful. Daniel had been the last one to leave the wake, unable to shake the feeling that Mark's eyes had been open just a little too wide. The bus rocked gently. He turned his gaze toward the window, where raindrops streaked the glass in crooked lines. Trees blurred by, endless and black, their branches knitting together like a cage. The occasional roadside light passed, brief bursts of yellow that illuminated the faces of the passengers in strange, unnatural flashes. The old woman was asleep. The teenager was gone. No, Daniel blinked. The seat was empty. He frowned, leaning forward to see better. Maybe the kid had just gone to the back, but the bus was too quiet, too still. He counted silently. The old woman, the man in the suit, the driver, and him. 4. Had there even been a teenager? He tried to remember what the kid had looked like, what color his jacket was, what kind of music had been leaking from those headphones. But the harder he tried, the less he could picture. Just a blur, a sense of someone being there. He shook it off. It was late. He hadn't slept properly in 2 nights. The funeral, the long walk back to the motel, the whiskey, all of it had left him raw. The bus made a slow turn. The engine grumbled, straining up a hill. Through the window, Daniel saw a sign flash by, half hidden by vines. Route 117, next stop Ridgeway. But the town of Ridgeway, if he remembered correctly, had been abandoned years ago. He sat up straighter. Maybe the route had changed. Maybe they were just taking a detour. The driver knew what he was doing, didn't he? The man in the suit shifted suddenly, his reflection jerking in the glass. Daniel looked up, meeting his eyes in the window. The man was staring at him. Not directly, more like through him. His expression was blank, but his mouth was slightly open, lips moving as if murmuring something. Daniel turned around, forcing a small nod. The man's gaze followed. His mouth kept moving. No sound came out. "Hey," Daniel said quietly, half to himself. "You all right?" The man blinked, slowly, then turned his head back toward the front. The movement was stiff, deliberate, like a puppet's. Daniel's skin prickled. He reached into his coat for his phone. No signal. No surprise. Not out here. Still, the blank, no service indicator felt heavier than usual. He set the phone down beside him, drumming his fingers against the seat. The rain thickened, hammering against the roof. The wipers squealed faster, fighting to keep up. Somewhere in the back, a soft thud sounded, like something falling. Daniel twisted in his seat, but the rear of the bus was cloaked in shadow. "Driver?" he called out, his voice cutting awkwardly through the silence. The driver didn't answer. The red cap tilted forward, his shoulders hunched. Maybe he couldn't hear over the storm. Daniel stood, gripping the seat in front of him for balance as the bus jolted over a bump. He took a cautious step down the aisle. The floor vibrated beneath his feet, a deep, rhythmic pulse that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than the engine. He hesitated near the back. The air was colder there, faintly metallic. He glanced at the empty rows, the windows where the darkness pressed in thick and absolute. No sign of what had fallen. When he turned back toward the front, he froze. The old woman was gone. Her paper bag lay crumpled on the seat, wet with something that looked like spilled coffee. Or maybe darker. The man in the suit hadn't moved, but his head was tilted now, resting awkwardly against the window. Eyes closed. The driver was still silent. Daniel's throat tightened. "Hello," he said, louder this time. The driver didn't respond. The road stretched endlessly ahead, two narrow lanes gleaming under the headlights. The forest on both sides seemed to lean closer, the trees thickening, twisting. He moved toward the front, trying to calm the sudden irrational panic building in his chest. "Sir?" he said, reaching for the driver's shoulder. When he touched it, the man flinched. Not in surprise, but like something had just snapped awake inside him. The driver turned his head, slow and stiff, revealing a pale face slick with sweat. Daniel stepped back. "Sit down," the driver repeated, voice low, mechanical. Daniel hesitated, then backed into his seat. The driver faced forward again, hands tight on the wheel. The sound of the engine deepened. The bus seemed to pick up speed. Through the windshield, the rain began to thin, but the darkness outside didn't lift. The road was a straight black ribbon now. No signs, no lights. Daniel's reflection wavered in the glass, tired eyes, pale skin, and behind him, an empty bus that somehow felt too full. He swallowed hard, trying to tell himself it was fine. Just fatigue, just grief, just a long night. But then, faintly, from somewhere down the aisle, he heard a whisper. His name. Tarkesh.